The Takeover.
Okay. Did we start? Yeah, we did. That's how I start.
Takeover.
Now, there's a lot of things we're going to get into. When I speak, and when I speak, and when I speak.
This is the Takeover.
Okay, levels look good. We're going. We're live. We're not live. Great reminder already, because I have no one else here to help me. Great reminder already that we do have a live episode Saturday on Zoom. And you could get tickets at the link in the bio of my Instagram or the Takeover Pod Instagram. But the Takeover Pod, we started. I'm a little high. My levels are a little bit high. Now, we started obviously because, you could hear me. And I wasn't sure if we started because you're probably wondering, how is he going to know if we started and how is he going to know about his levels without his headphones? Well, I evolve. The podcast evolves. We all evolve. And we turn into better things, different types of versions of ourselves. That's really what it is. And the podcast has always been growing. And if you've been a part of the team since the beginning, then you know that it's grown, and so have you as a person. But now I'm looking at the levels because I have to make sure they're okay. And we started. And everything's good. And I got a little late night espresso. Because we're back to shooting late nights. Because of the way the equator and the sun is, and the way the earth spins around the sun, and it is in fall, the sunlight now comes through the blinds, even with the curtains, and it makes these glares, which you know exactly what I'm talking about on some previous episodes, but especially if you're part of the Patreon. Last Patreon episode is just glares everywhere, and it just looks disgusting, and I'm ashamed to actually have that a part of the system. And when I'm talking about the system, I'm talking about what we got going on right here at the Takeover Podcast. Is it weird not hearing myself? It is. It worries me a little bit. I'm testing it out. I'm going to do it without the microphone. Without the headphones. I already messed up. I should start the podcast over. I want to start the episode over, but I don't want to because I reminded myself about the live episode Saturday, which you could get tickets at, and I want you guys to join in. There's a limited space. I think like 30 of you could be in there. So it's filling up quickly. Am I lying? I could be lying. I could be lying about it filling up quickly just to make sure that you guys rush to go get tickets for it. But I would appreciate it if you guys did, because if you're listening to this episode, it's probably Thursday or Friday, and that means it's tomorrow or 2 days from now. So, and if you're listening to this episode and it's past Saturday, then you missed out, and you'll have to wait till the next one. And it's going to be fun because I'm recording it on Zoom, and I'll post it, but like you guys get to ask questions and interact with me. And it'll almost be like a show, kind of. Almost like a stand-up show. But that's Saturday. That being said, we got a lot of things to go into, and I'm excited. And you know what? I got a whole new setup here, and this is how it's going to be from here on out going forward. Now, the headphones, I don't know if that's a guaranteed thing. I just want to try it without the headphones. I'm not doing a hat this week either. It's hot. That's why. It's one of the hottest days of the year, and I remind people this every year, and nobody believes me. They'll be like, oh, wow, it's getting hot, but, it's going to cool down soon. Everyone in LA will say that. Except maybe my group of friends, because I'm so proud that I remember this and I know this, and I go, whoa. It is not going to cool down in LA yet. LA is different from the rest of the country, as in maybe the second or third week of October is the hottest week of the whole year, every single year. And nobody remembers. They're like, no, October starts to cool down. No, it doesn't. If you're in Florida, if you're in New York, if you're anywhere else in the country, it starts to cool down in October. Not in LA. It's the hottest fucking week of the year. It was so hot outside. Sorry I said the F word. I'm going to try not to swear as much. If you don't swear as much, you get more views. We're all controlled by something. We're all in the matrix. Even if I'm not in the matrix like the rest of the world who has 9 to 5 lives, and they wake up, go to work, come home, put the kids to bed, go to work, and they do that every day. They're in the matrix. Guess what? I'm in the matrix too. We're all controlled. But anyways, the one thing I'm very proud of is reminding my friends, that the hottest time of the year is October. It really is. It's so hot. It was hot out this year. This year. A lot of mess ups today. We're going to take a break right now. Not here. We're going to take a break. Like, we're going to calm down a little bit because the espresso's kicking in. Did I used to call it espresso? Yes. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and one of them was calling espresso. I used to call it espresso, and then I got made fun of about it for a while, and then I corrected it. I corrected it like what teams should do at halftime, like what the Heat didn't do at halftime as they lost game 1 of the finals tonight. And that's the reason I wanted to do the podcast tonight, was because it's a learning experience. It's a learning experience, and you can't get down on ourselves. None of us can. We can't get down on ourselves. Sometimes things don't go as planned. For instance, like the Heat tonight. It didn't go as planned. They lost game 1. They got blown out. For the most part, it was a blowout. It was dominated by the Lakers for 3.5 quarters. Okay? Now, sometimes you're looking at your life and you're like, hey, maybe my life's being dominated by something. It doesn't mean you can't come back from a bad performance. That's all I want you guys to know, is you can come back from your bad performance. You had a bad day at work? Then guess what? Tomorrow's a new day. It's behind you. You can't think about what's behind you. There's nothing you could do about the past. And that's a fact. And I know that's simple knowledge that everybody knows, but sometimes you have to hear it to make yourself feel better. And sometimes it doesn't make you feel better because you're like, oh, I can't change it. But the quicker you realize that that is a part of life and that's how it's going to be, the faster you'll become a better person and get on top again, because you're realizing, hey, I can't do anything about that. That's out of my control now. So now I have to move on, learn from the experience, and become a better person. Now, I started off the podcast more sarcastic, how I usually do, and then I kind of got into a poignant moment where I was being real and it was mixed with the sarcasm, but I just want you guys to know that I meant everything I just said right there. Although I was being sarcastic, it went into that. The flow was like a waterfall, like a river that goes into a waterfall, and you could drink out of it. And you guys could drink out of my river. And I've been saying this for weeks and weeks at a time, but you can always drink out of my river, and I'll always be here for you to drink out of my river. And part of the reason is that especially if you join the Patreon. If you're a part of my Patreon, then you're a part of the team, and you always have... I'll always respond to your messages on there, whichever tier you're going to be. Although we do have some heads up about the Patreon, which I'm going to have to do a video explaining it. So YouTube now has a membership that's like the Patreon for YouTube, right? So I registered it, I made the account, and I got to actually make the video right now. You guys could watch me make the video, which I'll do the pitch right now. I'll do it right now with you guys. If you don't think I will, I will. I really will. I'll do the pitch right now with you guys on the podcast, and you'll be like, why is he doing this? This isn't what we signed up for. Now, not a lot of things are going to go the way you want, like in life and with this podcast. Maybe you don't want to hear the sign-up video, but maybe I'm going to push it, okay? That's why you could always skip ahead. I'm not saying you should skip ahead. I want you to stay here with me the whole time. I want you to always be a part of me because I need you guys. Okay? It's one of the hottest days of the year. And it's fucking hot in here, and that's why I'm not doing the hat. Now, you see how we started? We started off, and I came out of the gates running. And I always come out of the gates running. I do. I always come out strong. I'm laughing right now because I think without the headphones, I can literally hear how ridiculous I sound. And I didn't know that I was this ridiculous with the podcast this whole time for 32 episodes. But here's the deal, guys. There's a lot of exciting things going on. I'm in control of my life, and I'm happy. And we had some speed bumps, but I feel really good about what I'm doing. My workout regimen is back in. I don't know if I used that word right. All right. My workout regimen is back. My piano game is getting back. My meditation game is getting back. My not eating late is getting back. My sex game is getting back. Sometimes. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe I just said that because I want to sound cool. We all want to be cool. We all want to have love. We all want to be cool. And we all want to drink from each other's waterfall. You guys could drink from my waterfall. That's what's up. Okay? So I'm excited. All right? Now, for the people who are going to join my membership on YouTube, this is big. Okay? First of all, I want to thank you for joining the YouTube membership. Okay? It's new. I want to push everyone from my Patreon to the membership. I want everyone to go through there. I will still be using the Patreon for now, but eventually I want to transition everything onto my YouTube membership, to YouTube memberships. Okay? So that being said, I just want to say thank you for the people who are Patreon members, and a big shout out to our newest member, Aaron Long. Aaron Long is our newest Patreon member, okay? And thank you for joining. And for all of you guys that are a part of the Patreon, you could join the Patreon. Here's the link. I'll put it up right there. Maybe I'll put it up over my right shoulder. No, I'll put it up right here where I usually do. Join the Patreon for now, I guess, and then, but also, or actually wait and join my membership page on YouTube channel. So the YouTube channel has a membership page. It's just easier for me because every video I put up on the Patreon is uploaded to YouTube and is unlisted. So it just makes sense to move everything that is on Patreon. It's the same tiers, except for one is left out and one's a little bit higher. But for the most part, it's the same tiers. So everyone who is on the Patreon, if you want, I would suggest signing up to the YouTube membership page, and I'll use that going forward once everyone's transitioned. I obviously will post the video on both, but I'm saying from here on out, I would push everyone to join my membership on the YouTube page. But obviously, I'll be posting both the Patreon videos on both the Patreon and on the YouTube one until it's until I fully get everyone over to the YouTube page. Man, that was more difficult than I thought it would be, because I had to find the words, and then my brain was like, we don't know what words you want to use. And then I was just like, hey, I don't either, but like, can we try to understand what I'm trying to articulate? And they're like, okay, you want people from the Patreon to be on your YouTube Patreon? And I'm like, yeah, but they don't call it a Patreon on the YouTube channel. They call it a membership page. So that's what happened there. So in case you're like, wow, is he slow in the head? And there's cool things that are benefits on the membership page. You get like little emojis and special icons, so that when you comment on YouTube, you have a special a special emblem or symbol that shows that you're a loyal member. So that's kind of cool, I think. But shout out to Aaron Long. He's our newest Patreon member, and that's what we do every week. You get a shout out. Go check that out. So also, I also want to start with like how, everybody, we've all been through a rough time, right? We've all been through a rough time all around the country, all around the world. Personally, whatever you're going through, we've all gone through a hard time. So that's why I want to start this week with a round of applause. I want everybody to give themselves a round of applause. Just give it a good clap. I'm not going to clap because I got to hold the mic. You know what? I still did it, but I want you guys to do it as well. And I don't care if you're at work. Nobody's at work right now. Everybody works from home. But if you're around people and you're listening, you're at the gym, everybody clap. It's even funnier if you're around people right now listening to it and they don't even know you're listening to it and you clap. If you're even on the couch watching it with somebody, clap. It will make you smile. And that was the goal of that exercise. We just wanted to make you guys smile. It feels like it's getting hot in here even though I have the air on. But, I couldn't. Sometimes I don't put the air on when I'm recording, even though you can't really pick it up in post. You don't really hear it. I figured that out. Although the first 20 episodes, I didn't have the air conditioning on. Wow, another mess up. We got a lot of mess ups already in the beginning of the podcast, but that's fine. But I wanted to, make sure it was cool in here today. That's the exciting part. I like the energy I got going on in this episode so far. I do. I really appreciate what's going on with the episode. I think right now we have good chemistry with everyone listening. Is it weird to not have headphones? Of course it is. I don't have headphones, but I'm fine with not having headphones. I think this could work out better. I think it looks better. I don't need it. I just know that, it's working so far. Sometimes I'll be talking, and then other thoughts will come in my head, and then I'll be thinking those thoughts out in my head while I'm talking, and then I feel like I'm not being present in the moment, and that you guys can tell that I'm not being present, but you probably can't. But that's also a weird thought to have, to be like thinking ahead. And a lot of comedians will tell you that they do that on stage. Like there's so many times I've been on stage when I'm doing longer sets, and I'm like, oh, what joke am I gonna do next, or where am I gonna go next with this crowd, because of whether or not a joke isn't flowing right with them, or if it's going really well. I'll be like, oh, let me throw this joke in there too, because that's going to be a better, that's going to be better for how the set is going. So like the conversations you have in your head while performing is amazing. It's actually hilarious. And every comedian will tell you who does it. We all do it. It's like you're like thinking ahead, but sometimes you're in the moment. And I don't think that you're not present on stage when that's happening. I think you're just in a rhythm and the crowd's feeling you, so it's just like autopilot. But then sometimes, maybe you're not even doing a bit and you're just connected with the audience and you're laughing and having a good time, and that's a little bit more present. But just to explain that right now was because the coffee's kicked in. The coffee's kicked in, and that's what's going on right now. Okay, so here's the part that, I'm excited about, because this is funny, okay? Let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Without them, I would have to eat way more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day, okay? And I don't because of them, and that's why we're going to give a shout out to Manscaped, okay? And we got some new things from Manscaped, and we're going to go over them, and I'm going to try to look like I'm not reading it. But I'm never going to lie to you guys. But I'm going to try to make it look like I'm not reading it. But here we go. Listen up, fellas, because today we have a new Manscaped product alert. Manscaped just released the Weed Whacker. Okay? The Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer. I don't need it for my ears. I'm not that old. Okay? Take a look in the mirror, and I guarantee you'll see hairs sticking out of those holes, whether it's your ears or your nose. It's time to keep your ears and nose hair looking as nice as your clean-shaved pubes. And I'm not the best reader, okay? So let's just get that out of the way. Manscaped, probably, something you should have worked with me a little bit. I don't. Cold reads, I get a little nervous, and I'm scared. But whatever, here it is. This is it right here. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Weed Whacker, okay? The nose and ear trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, tugs, and in those delicate holes. The premium Manscaped Weed Whacker uses 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotator dual-blade system, which is pretty cool because when you're in your nose, you could just go... It actually is cool because, we'll get to that in a second. Its intelligently conquered design enhances the trimming experience, and it's waterproof, which makes it for easy operation and cleaning. That is a big deal. The fact that it is waterproof is great because, you got to clean it every once in a while. Hopefully not a lot. Hopefully you don't have a lot of hairs, but it depends how old you are. Okay? Have you ever pulled your nose hair out with your fingers? I have, actually, and this isn't going to go good with me. I actually enjoy it. So when I've done it, it's hard, but I've only done it probably less than 50 times in my life, but I do enjoy it. That might hurt worse than nicking your balls. I don't know about that. The nicking your balls hurts more because like when you wash it, the water gets on it and it stings, as opposed to that's just like a temporary pull. Whatever. I'm not going to argue. Yes, you will get replaceable blades every 3 months to keep your weed whacking time clean and enjoyable. That's great. So you also get, they send you replacements. And look, fellas, 79% of your partners polled admitting that long nose hairs is a major turnoff. I would like to know if a girl I was with didn't like my nose hairs, but I'm pretty good with trimming it. But I will say the reason they probably pushed this product on me is if you've been a loyal podcast listener, Manscaped probably has watched me scratch my nose so many times. Like when I'm doing the podcast, I get like those the itches coming, the allergies. It's because I haven't been trimming my nose hairs. But now everything's good. I'm not going to have to itch my nose ever again. That's the best part about this is this the most disgusting thing you've ever seen anyone do? It's actually addicting to like do it, and it doesn't hurt at all. All right, it's time to upgrade your Manscaped routine with the Weed Whacker, guys. So get 20% off free shipping with the code PATM at manscaped.com. I also believe, well, now it itches. I also believe that you can also, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code Takeover at manscaped.com. So again, go to manscaped.com and at checkout use the code Takeover or PATM, all capital letters, Pat M, whatever you want to call that. You get 20% off free shipping and get your Weed Whacker, which goes great. Like I said, this is probably the best one I've ever had. I mean, I remember I had one of these in like college. It like broke after 3 weeks and I never used it again. And then I would just flip my nostrils and then shave it with like the clippers that I use for my Manscaped, which don't tell anyone, but my man trimmer I also use on my face. And we've went over that before too. But this Weed Whacker is cool. I won't have to use it for my ears because I'm not 75 yet, but I did use it on my nose. And I feel like it's going to stop the itching. And I feel like that's why, that's why this was happening, because of my nose hairs, because I would get allergies and the vibration of talking so much makes it itch. But that's a shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Give them a holler. Again, go to manscaped.com, promo code Takeover, 20% off, free shipping. And, there's a bunch of other stuff on there that you'll love, like the underwear, the shirts, the lotions. And we know why we like lotions. Okay. Welcome back, team. Welcome back. Okay. Now, here's something fun that's been going on. I watched, I should have written down what it was. It was something about social media on Netflix. But it inspired me because do you see your screen time? How much time you spend on your phone a day? Like if you're I've been over 6 hours a lot. I've been 8 hours. I've seen a 10-hour day. And usually if I have a 10-hour day, it's because I am posting or promoting or trying to do something. It's like usually because after a podcast day or something like that. But it is a problem. I do think it's a problem. So I started putting limits on different apps, which I think is important to do. And I noticed that I've been ignoring the limits. No, I haven't. There was one day where I listened to the limit. Like I put a limit on Instagram. Dude, I put a limit on Instagram for 1 hour. I can't spend more than an hour on Instagram a day. I've only been able to stay off of it and not ignore the limit once. Because here's the problem I'm running into, is the limits start from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. That's the 24 hours. A lot of the time I'm on my phone late at night from like 12 to 3 or something, or in bed, I'm on my phone. So if anything, it's pushing me to go to bed earlier, but also it reminds me of like if it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I've reached the limit, I'm like, Jesus, what am I doing? So I put limits on my ESPN, on Twitter, Instagram, and texting, which is stupid, but the texting one's stupid because you just always need to text, but you don't. There's a lot of text chains where it's just nonsense and you're spending time on the phone and you're not being present or working. Like I was thinking about this the other day, like with apps, like on your phone and being addicted on your phone. If like people are like, I work 40 hours a week. Someone will say, I work 40 hours a week for that company. But do you really work 40 hours a week? Are you at that job? Do you get to the job and from 9 to 5, it's just you're nonstop working? Or do you go to an office for 40 hours a week, but you're working 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week? You're really not working. Like how hard are you really working? And how much time are you just being distracted? And I think I was thinking about that because I was thinking about myself of like, oh, I think I'm working, but then I'm also on my phone. And whenever I'm on my phone, even if it is working, whether it's social media or email or Twitter, what's my real goal when I'm on there? Even if I am working and it's on Instagram, maybe posting something on a story or doing a post or tweeting or an email, all of that takes less than a minute to do. You only need to post and then you have to get off. So the rest of the time you're spending on there is just watching other things go on that you're not a part of, essentially. Like, I'm not a part of anything that I'm watching on sports, right? If I'm on the ESPN app, I'm watching it, and it's great to be informed, but I can be informed by what's going on in sports at the end of the day no matter what. It's not going to change. The outcome happens. It's going to stay the same no matter what. It's not something that I have to constantly see and react to, but it's a game. Sometimes I want to look at stats and stuff like that. So it's part of entertainment. It is an entertainment form, but I mean, I don't want to say I'm not a part of it because I look at things now because I started Finn's Talk on my YouTube page where I recap the Miami Dolphin games, which, I doubt any of you guys are interested in. But if you are into sports, you could check that out. I recap Miami Dolphin games. Just another little hobby and passion I have. I love football, obviously. But I don't want to go too far into sports because this isn't, this is obviously not a sports podcast, although it is a sports. It's one of the greatest sports podcasts ever, but we don't talk about sports, so it's confusing. But you know what I mean. So the ESPN one, I don't think is as bad. The Instagram one is too, and I started unfollowing people and accounts that I'm like, well, I'm not even friends with this. Like, why am I absorbed in their life? Like, I think that's important. If they're not doing anything for you, like inspiring you or giving you enjoyment, and you're just following them for whatever reason, then that's stupid. Like, that's just another distraction on your feed that you're seeing that you have nothing to do with and you're not a part of. So I think Instagram's the worst. I think at least Twitter, I get my news on there a little bit. I haven't hit my limits on Twitter. I think Twitter, I put an hour as well. I'm never on Twitter for more than an hour in a day. The Instagram one scares me a little bit because I always have to ignore it because there's times I need to see it. But being addicted to apps is a real thing. And I think that, that's something that everybody struggles with. I don't think it's not like a bad thing, but I think it's real life. I think it's real life that everybody's dealing with. And I think that we have to be aware of it, if that makes sense. Sorry about those technical difficulties. There wasn't really technical difficulties. I just like to throw in that. I love that I have that thing, and it's just for when I do edits, because sometimes I have to figure out what bit I'm going to go into next, and it wasn't flowing correctly. So listen, a lot of my podcast has a lot of where I don't edit it and I let it flow through. Sometimes I'm going to edit it. So that being said, one guy hit me up and he asked, why am I guess it's obvious, but he's like, why are you not into hockey? And it's so funny. He's like, I didn't even know the Tampa Bay Lightning even won the championship yesterday. The thing is, I'm from Florida. South Florida was never a big hockey town. We did get the Panthers and stuff, but we weren't they were never good. They were good in 96. I don't know if you guys remember this, but in 1996, some of you might not remember it because you weren't even born yet, but 1996 was the year of the Rats. The Panthers were really good, and every time they scored a goal, everyone in the arena would throw a rat on the ice, and it was a cool little thing that they allowed. They allowed it. I think it started in 95. They allowed it through the 96 season, and then would have to come out and sweep them off the floor after every time they scored. And maybe it started more towards the end of 96 season, but in the playoffs it was nuts. And they said they're going to allow it to go for the whole year, but next year they're not going to allow any more rat throwing onto the ice. No, there weren't real rats. They would sell these rubber rats, and every time they'd score, people just throw these rats onto the ice skate, onto the ring. And it was something else to see. They should do a 30 for 30 about the 96 Florida Panthers, because they were a good team. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Avalanche. They got swept 4-0. But that was an exciting year. I was watching every single hockey game, and I would even go to hockey games growing up. But again, in South Florida was a football team growing up when I was little. In the 90s, it was baseball was kind of okay, but it was all about the Dolphins and Hurricanes. So, and basketball was, the Heat were always pretty good in the 90s as well. So it was just like people didn't care about the Panthers that much, and I never got into it. And it was definitely my fourth favorite sport at the time, and probably still is. Now that I got baseball, it's something to be excited about with the Marlins. But the thing about the Panthers is that wasn't that exciting. But I did my first job was working at an ice skating rink, Sunrise Ice Skating Rink. And I don't know, I think I mentioned this before in maybe a previous episode. If I have, forgive me. But that was my first job. I was 16 and I would go work at this ice skating rink. And one of my memories about that place was we would sometimes, if the place was closed or we would go early, when it was closed late, like on Saturdays it would close for like a few hours. We could play hockey on the ring, and I never played hockey growing up, but we'd play with just the employees having fun. And I remember there was this older kid. We were playing hockey. His name was Jose, and Jose and me were arguing while playing because it's competitive, and I'm very competitive, and I've always been very competitive, and I want you guys to be competitive with each other as well in a friendly way. But also, you always want to be a winner, okay? And that's where that comes from. But I was always competitive, and I would always, I wouldn't step down. And this kid, Jose, he hit me with the hockey stick, like real hard. Like not even like a tap. Like I had a temper when I was a kid, but I would never like I would think about hitting someone with a stick, but I would never take a full swing and do it. And he took a full swing on me and hit me. And I remember thinking, I just grabbed my arm and I started crying, and I was like 16. I was like, it was very painful, but I was also scared. I was like, why? Because there was no one that really saw it, and I knew that him doing that, he won, because I usually would retaliate and hit back, but I knew that Jose was crazier than me. I knew that if I retaliated, he was gonna level up on me. And part of me like knew that. You know what I mean? Like I was always like, I would get in fights here and there, and I wouldn't back down all the time, but there are times where I was a bitch and I would back down because I thought, no, this isn't gonna even if it doesn't end well for me, there would be times where I still wouldn't back down. I'd be like, I don't care if it's gonna end well for me. But there are times when I would back down because I was like, this guy could out crazy me. So Jose definitely was going to out crazy me. So I didn't retaliate, but I cried and I told on him. I went and I told on him, which is a bitch thing to do. And I understand that I was a bitch. I was a fucking little bitch, and I got to own it up. I got to own it up because, I was crying and I went and I told on him, and then they knew, and they a couple days later they had a meeting about it and stuff, and he didn't get fired. So I just was a bitch. I was just a bitch, and this guy didn't get fired, and he hit me with a stick hard, and that was really the end of it. And I could look back and be like, wow, what a pussy I was, because I didn't fight back. He was a bigger kid, but I knew he was gonna out crazy me, so I was just smarter, really. That's really what it was. I was smarter, and sometimes the smarter person has to be the bitch. And I know that this is weird to hear from, your coach, guys. I know you don't want to hear this, but sometimes it's okay to be a bitch. And I know that you're not used to hearing that, but like I think that it's important that you guys need to understand that being a bitch also means you're smarter. You're a smarter person, and you're going to learn from those situations, and you're going to be in less situations that make you look like a bitch if you are a bitch, because you're going to learn from those situations. Now, I don't know if that was going to make sense, because the way I said it was just throwing out words as they come to my brain. But I do believe that it's okay to be a bitch, and people throughout your whole life are like, don't be a bitch. Your whole life, even your dad sometimes will be like, don't be a bitch. He never said it like that. They would say it in a different way. But like, now that I'm an adult looking back, I think it's okay to be a bitch in certain situations, especially if you're in a situation where you think someone's going to out crazy you. If someone's going to out crazy you, it's time to be a bitch. Okay? If someone's going to do something that's going to, get in the way of you trying to reach your goals, and you tattletale, that's okay to be a bitch then, I think. You know what I mean? Now, there's different types of bitches. What I did, that was a bitch move, but I think it was a smart bitch move. Now, a different type of bitch would be like someone getting offended by you busting their balls. That's a different type of bitch. You're like, what are you? Why are you being a bitch? You're being you're being a little brat bitch about just us having fun, or being offended by a word, or being offended by a comedian. It's a different type of bitch, right? Or someone gets mad because you didn't go quick enough at a red light, at a green light that just turned green, or something like that, and they beep the horn. They're being a bitch because they're cranky, right? Those are different types of bitches. But a tattletaling bitch is not necessarily a bad bitch. It's just a bitch learning about a situation, and maybe he was smart. Some people who are making bitch moves are smart. But I'm not saying all moves that are bitch are all smart moves. I hope this makes sense. But I think it's true. I live by this saying. I just made it up, but I live by it. Did I remind you guys about the live show Saturday? If you're listening, get your tickets on my Instagram. You get my tickets on Instagram, or you could, that's the only place you can get them. Twitter or Instagram. But you got to make sure you get them. But it's okay to be fucking being a bitch. But I worked at this ice skating ring, and that was something that kind of got me into hockey a little bit, but I never played it a lot. But yeah, someone had reached out because I said, if you have questions, just hit me up on the Takeover pod, and of course I'll respond. And that was one of them. He was like, why are you not into hockey? And I was just like, it's just not a Florida thing. Like, I know people in the Northeast, hockey's way bigger. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all over Pennsylvania, Philly, Detroit loves hockey. Chicago loves hockey. New York, I feel like, doesn't love hockey as much, even though the Rangers are great. New York's so big, though, too. I mean, you got 14 million people. People are going to like hockey. But I don't feel like they like hockey as much as Pennsylvania or Chicago or even Detroit. Does Ohio have hockey? Ohio doesn't have hockey, huh? There's no hockey team in Ohio. And I just thought of that now. I was like, I'm pretty sure there isn't. But there's one in Nashville, which moved from Vancouver, I want to say. Or is Vancouver still around? See, that's how much I don't know about hockey. I know that Ottawa still has a team. And I know that Toronto still has a team. And Buffalo has a team, but that's America. Montreal doesn't have a team anymore, right? Or they do. They for sure have a team. Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa. I don't know if Vancouver does anymore. I'm not sure about that one. Or maybe they're the ones who moved to Nashville. Where did Vegas come from? Are they an expansion team, or they moved from somewhere else? See, there's a lot of things I don't know. I just know that the Panthers came in 93 with the Carolina Panthers. And the Carolina Hurricanes. And then the Carolina Panthers, though, did come into the league in 96 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Maybe not 96, maybe like 94 or 95. But I know my stuff. But again, I don't want to get into too much of the sports history because, again, that's not what we're here for. We're here for other things, guys. Here we go. I want to talk about this for a second because I think this is very important. I think this is an important moment that we need to discuss. And I know it sounds like I'm about to go into something serious, but it's not that serious, actually. It's not a serious subject matter, but I don't know why I realized it now that like a great sauce can make anything good. Anything. A great sauce makes anything good. That's a fact. Right? Wouldn't we all agree on that? I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue. I'm just saying, if you're listening right now and I said a great sauce makes anything good, you Uh-oh. It's the weed whacker, man. The weed whacker cleaned out my nose, and then I had to sneeze a couple times. Here's what's going on. maybe it means I'm lying. It's getting hot in here already, and the air's on, and it's just a hot day. Man, I felt like we started the podcast great, and now I feel like I'm losing momentum. And all I wanted to do was talk about how a great sauce can make anything good. And I think that's a fact because, I'm a big Chipotle mayo fan. I mean, who's not really? Who's not a Chipotle mayo fan? But I mean, you could put that on anything and it's great. Even if you're eating something that's already great and then you add the sauce, it's amazing. Now, here's the thing. Sauce can overwhelm. Sauce can overwhelm. A great sauce can overwhelm something. That's real life, right? A great sauce can overwhelm a situation. Yes, that's real. That's a real situation. But a great sauce can make something that's not good at all great. I mean, if you're eating something, you're like, this is okay, and you put Chipotle mayo in it, that's unbelievable. Then you're like, wow, that was good. So some restaurants you're at, okay, like this place right here in my house, it's just Dave's Hot Chicken. Have you guys had this yet? This might only be a California thing. Dave's Hot Chicken it's good, but it's not great. I don't think it's better than like a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Nothing's better than Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna live that for the rest of my life. Okay, nothing's better than Chick-fil-A. That's what I want. I want that as my last meal. Okay, I want Chick-fil-A and then a breakfast burrito and a short stack of pancakes, and that's what I want before I die. Okay, we've talked about this before. But Dave's Hot Chicken, it's okay. They put a lot of seasoning on it, but their sauce is great. So their sauce makes you go, oh, it's not that bad. But without their sauce, you'd be like, I don't need to come here again. Dave's Hot Chicken's nothing without their sauce. So I learned that. I have so many of their sauces in my fridge because it's right there that I save them, that I'll use them on my breakfast burritos that I make at my house. Or I'll use them on my chicken quesadillas that I make at my house. Or I'll use them on my egg tacos that I make at my house. I don't make a lot of things. In this whole COVID quarantine thing, I learned how to cook, but not like crazy cook. I'm not like going to win you over with cooking. So I make these things and I dip them in the sauce. That just reminded me, I want to go off into a tangent, but I don't want to forget about the sauce part. But somebody needs to remind me about what I'm about to go off and about cooking. Like, is it that big of a deal, women? I'll put it right there. Now, here's the thing about the sauce. All right, the sauce. I swear to God, if someone does this, I'll repost it on my Instagram or Twitter, and I'll repost all of the videos you guys send me to Takeover a pod if you do this, just to prove a point. A sauce can be so great that you could rip off a piece of toilet paper and roll up one sheet. You know how like there's little squares, like not like when you're wiping your ass, but if you take one square of toilet paper, just that little square one, and then you roll it up into like a stick, and you were to dip it in Chipotle mayo or a great sauce, whatever you think is a great sauce, and then eat it, it wouldn't be that bad. How ridiculous does it sound? Very. It sounds very ridiculous, okay? Maybe my mom's smiling right now. She's on a walk, okay? You remember I said, I wonder if my mom's even listening to the podcast anymore because she hasn't responded to any of the things I was saying. Like a couple episodes back where I was talking about how she, was inappropriate with me when I was a kid. I didn't get a response out of her, so I was like, what's going on? I talked to her, and she's like, you know what? I'm not going to fall for your game anymore. I know that's what you want. So she is listening, and I know she's listening on a walk right now, and she's probably like, my son's 36. He's a loser, and he's talking about dipping toilet paper into a sauce and getting people to videotape themselves doing that and eating it so that he could repost it. And I'm serious about this. Just to prove a point. I haven't done it, but I guarantee you, I'm not saying take a whole fucking roll of toilet paper. I'm saying take the goddamn square, like a little piece. You could make it like the size of this. It would be like an inch. Dip it in sauce and eat it, and I'll bet you it's not that bad. I swear to God, it's not that bad. I'll bet you it's not that bad, and I'll bet you that if you guys make a video of you doing it, I'll post it on my Instagram. I'll be like, look, I suggested that people try this, and they did it because it proved my point that a great sauce can make anything good. If you can make toilet paper taste good, that's a fucking unbelievably great sauce. So I think that's possible, and I think we could try that. I think we should try that. I think somebody should try that. One of you out there should try that, and let's just see what it's like. And it's funny. One, it's funny to try. Two, it's probably good because you love your sauce. And three, if 5 people do it, then I'll do it. How about that? If 5 of you do it, then I'll do it too. I don't think it's a big deal, but I just don't want to be doing it alone. And since we're a team here at the Takeover, I think we should all just come together and try it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think dipping toilet paper into your favorite sauce and then eating one little square of toilet paper with the sauce it's harmless, and it proves a point that sauce can dominate a meal. A sauce can change. It's a game changer. A sauce is a game changer. A sauce can be a guy coming off the bench in a basketball game and all of a sudden putting up 30 points and be like, whoa, I didn't expect that. Yeah, he saved us. We got to win. Why? Because he's a fucking great sauce. That's why you call him Mr. Sauce. If there's a great player, athlete, Tyler Hero, Mr. Sauce. For the Heat, Tyler Hero on the Heat, the 20-year-old rookie on the Miami Heat, his nickname should be Mr. Sauce because he makes things better. He makes them great. And it's already a good team, but with him, it's great. And that's a great analogy, I think. I think I just came up with a great analogy. It's like what Tua will be for the Dolphins when they put him in. Good team, but it's great when you put Tua in because he's Mr. Sauce. Anyone who adds greatness to something that's good is Mr. Sauce. I would like to be called Mr. Sauce. I would like you guys to call me Mr. Sauce to your life. I'm Mr. Sauce to you. Your life is great. You're doing well. You're fine. You're living. You're having a good time. You're happy. You listen to my podcast. Your life's better. Why? Because Mr. Sauce is here. And that's my name from now on. I want you guys to call me Mr. Sauce. That's what we should be. I would like a nice little flyer with my face on it saying, Mr. Sauce is here. Why? Because he's great. He makes things better. Now, going back to the cooking thing, I wrote down the note and now I remembered. Let me ask you this. I was thinking about this the other day because that was always a thing. I was thinking about this the other day about how, like, you know, what were the old times? Like, men would be like, I need a wife who's going to clean and cook and stuff. And I'm eating and I'm like, how I'm eating at home, I'm like, man, it would be awesome if, like, I was dating someone and she loved to cook. Yeah, that would be awesome. But it's never something I ever cared about when looking to date someone. I never thought about it. It was never important to me. It was only a bonus, I guess. I never thought about that. And then I was just thinking when we were talking about, like, the cooking and how I was cooking, I was like, does that even really turn a woman on? Is that a real thing? Do women really get turned on by someone's cooking? Like, first of all, if a man cooks for you, then you're going to his house, right? So I'm assuming you've slept together, right? Maybe you haven't. Maybe it's your third date. If it's your first date and you're going over to a guy's house and he cooks for you, does the cooking, is that the reason you're going to sleep with him now? Because he cooked for you? Or is it because of his personality? Or because you're attracted to him, right? Like, isn't it always that the reason, because you're attracted to him and you like his personality? Is it ever, oh my God, he just cooked the most amazing meal for me, so, oh, I can't keep my clothes on any longer. Like, is that real? Is that a real thing? Like, do women brag to their friends and, like, oh, he's an amazing cook? Like, obviously there's guys who actually are professional chefs and they're amazing at it. But like a guy, like I have friends. I got my buddy Maddie Shimbor, my buddy Chris Lev, who I used to do the Guys Night Out podcast with. They're both good cooks. My roommate is a great cook too. CY. CY's a great cook. He actually will cook a lot. It's funny. My roommate will cook, and then I don't ask. He's always like, hey, there's a little extra if you want it. And I know that it's because he wants me to try it. So I'm like, oh, wow, you're really good. And I always do. I'm like, well, bro, this is really good. He has the it when it comes to cooking, and so do those other 2 guys I named. But has that ever been like a selling point for a woman? Is that a real? You've heard it is, like in movies, or you see it on a dating app. I'm like, looking for a guy that's a really good cook, whatever. Is that real? Or are they just saying that? Like, I always tell girls up front, even when probably on the first day, I'm like, yeah, I hate cooking. It's weird because my dad likes to cook. My mom tries to cook. Just kidding, Mom. But true. But I always tell them, I'm like, judge me if you want, but I just don't like to cook. It's just not my thing. I mean, obviously I have to cook now because there's less places to eat out. But is that like a real thing that like women, like, that really turns them on? They're like, oh my God, he cooks. Like, he cooks? I can't keep my clothes on. Like, I've never, like, if I was dating a girl and she was like, I'm gonna cook for you, and she did, like, I actually had a girl cook for me. I went to a girl's house maybe like the beginning of COVID. First of all, she owned a house. I love when I could talk about dates or dating once it's been months removed from it. So, by the way, I was with a girl a few weeks ago, and she's like, I've seen your podcast, and I don't want to be a part of it. I'm like, if I do talk about dating on here, it's like from months and months or maybe years ago. It's like, nobody's going to know who you are anyways. I don't say your name. I'm just like, hey, this one time with this girl, only you know that I'm talking about you if it's a very specific moment. Like, I would never do that. I know there's dating podcasts out there with a lot of women that do that. Like, and if that's the case, whatever, then don't date that person. But like, that was the first time a girl was like, no, I heard you talk about, I don't want to be a part of it. Like, you think I'm just out here dating because I want content for my podcast? My podcast is just because that's what's going on in my life. So just to warn anyone listening that is in my life right now or gonna be in my life in the future, just, hey, it's all gravy. You're just drinking from my river, okay? Because I flow smoothly. I'm your sauce, okay? So anyways, what was I talking? Oh, so the girl, she invited me over, and it was her house. She owned it. She owned the house, and it was nice, and she was cooking for me, and it was really good, which is like to me, it was like, does that make her more attractive? I was like, no, it's cool. I was like, oh, that's cool that she's stable. Like, you have a house in L.A. I've never met a girl with a house in L.A. That was the first one ever. And I think I've never been a person like, I don't think like, oh, she's has a house, this would be comfortable. Like, to fall in love with this person and be able to live here. Like, I didn't think like that at all. I could care less because I like want my own. I want to be in control of my own house. Like I talked about on the last episode, like, I want to buy the house and decorate the house, and then I want to fall in love and be like, you can come to my house, but this is how it's gonna look. Which I know women are going to hate because they want to have their little taste in it. And I'll give you some taste. You can put a little bit of your taste all over it. But I go to this girl's house, and her owning the house didn't like make me like want to pursue her more. And I don't know if that makes me not a shallow person, or if that makes women shallow, if that's something they're attracted to in a guy. Like, my buddy has his own place that he owns, and then I rent. Now, I could understand that that's more attractive because it seems like he's more stable, but like, in reality, he just saved better, really. But we're all the same. We're all just comedians trying to level up at the end of the day. So, but I do understand a woman being attracted to that. But the cooking part, I'm a little confused about. I would think it's just a bonus. Like, I would think a girl's like, oh, he's a great cook, and that's awesome. But I can't imagine a girl being like, I like him so much because he's a good cook. Like, is that something that, to me, that's just a bonus? Agree, women? Like, isn't that just a bonus? Or is that something like you think about when you're spending the night with someone every day if you live with them? If you live with someone every day and they enjoy doing it. I guess for me, it's like a blowjob. You know, if a girl loves to do that, that's awesome. If a guy loves to cook for you, I guess that's awesome. But it's not going to make, it's not, that's the only way. I guess you would have to think about how I think about blowjobs, how you think about cooking, to me being like, whoa, you're amazing. That's amazing that you like do it that well. I know that's gross to think about eating and then sex, but some people combine eating and sex. Some people put strawberries in people's mouths when they're naked. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't understand the fact of like, does a good cook turn a girl on? Like, I understand a girl seeing an athlete and being like, oh, that's attractive. But when a girl is going after an athlete, is she going after an athlete now? Okay, here it is. I found it. A girl who's attracted to an athlete in high school is different. She's like, he's athletic. But a girl who's attracted to a professional athlete, that's different, because is she attracted to the fact that he's an athlete or the fact that he's rich and famous? What is it really? And I think that's something like an athlete would have to decide. Like, oh, does she really like me because she's like into guys who are athletic, or is she into like the rich and the fame? So that's another thing I don't know. You know what I mean? That's a good question. I feel like these are good questions, ladies, that I need some answers. But the cooking thing is like, is that one of those things you really need in a guy? Like, you're not going to be like, I can't date this guy because he's not a good cook. That's ridiculous. Like, oh, wait a minute. I would have a problem dating a girl who's very messy. And you could say it's different, but it could be in the same category. One's a pro, one's a con. Like, a guy could learn how to cook and get better at cooking, or you could be in a relationship and the girl could be the one who likes to cook. But if someone's dirty, if someone's a messy person and you're in your late 20s or 30s, it's going to be hard to change that habit. That's a bad habit they already have. If I walk into a girl's place and it's a filthy place, like it's different if she doesn't make her bed or she has like laundry all over the place because she's like always busy. But if her place is like, she's got a dirty ass bathroom and it's not clean, like the toilet's not clean, a dirty sink, like a frat house sink. Like, I've been to girls' places and I'm like, well, what the fuck is going on? Like, that's a big turnoff for me. But I don't think that's the same as cooking being a huge turn on for someone. I feel like a girl could be into a guy that cooks and appreciates a guy who cooks, but there's no way a girl is turned off from a guy who's like, I don't cook. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing. And then if you're on the other side saying, well, it's ridiculous that you would get turned off by a girl who's messy. No, because I have to live with that. Living with a guy who's doesn't cook, that's not like in your way. Oh, well, then you order out, or like you're cooking, or he learns, like that's way different as opposed to like if you live with someone's habits of being messy. I don't know. I think I'm right on that. I think we hit something on that one, but another rule with dating, this is interesting to me, is social media is a big part of dating, right? Whether you guys follow each other, whether you're on Facebook. Here's what it was. In college, it was a big deal if you were dating someone and they put in a relationship on their profile. Like, if they didn't, you would be like, why is it? I remember getting in fights with girls in college about that. Being like, both sides. Being like, why doesn't it say you're in a relationship on Facebook? Like, that's why. Like, some people would just not put the status up so it didn't say in a relationship or single. But if it said single, you're like, yo, change that. That was like you had to do that. In college, you had to take single off or put I'm in a relationship. And you would put with a person. Remember when that was a thing? I don't know how old you guys are, but when I was in college from 03 to 06, that was a big thing. Like, that was official. Oh, they're in a relationship on Facebook. And then also, like, if someone didn't want to do it, you're like, why? That's fucking sketchy. Put that on your fucking profile or take that you're single off, obviously. So that was a big thing. Now, today, the big thing is, for me, it's like, obviously, if you're dating a girl, you'll follow her back, right? On Instagram, same with each other. You follow each other back, but nobody knows you're doing that. My whole thing is, when are you allowed to comment? When are you starting to comment? Like, if I'm hanging out with a girl a lot and I'm following her and I like her, I like all her photos just because I want her to feel better. I know that it brings her joy. Likes brings everyone joy. That's why it's a huge thing on Instagram. But if I've hooked up with a girl, like once, let's say I meet a girl, we go on a date and we hook up. All right? And then that week she comments on my post. That's too fast. Agree? That's too fast. You can't be commenting on social media profiles when you've only hooked up, if you haven't slept together yet. Even if you haven't slept together yet. Even if you have slept together, even if I've slept with a girl and we're casually dating, you shouldn't be commenting on my profiles, on my social medias until like we're like hanging out a lot and like my friends know you, especially like in a way where you're like flirty or something. Like, because then that's like you're claiming territory. Like, if I was dating a girl and we went on 2 dates and then we started hooking up, I'm not gonna comment on her stuff. I'm not even gonna like her stuff yet. Like, because I don't know if she's still dating. Like there's a girl I was dating and we went out a few times. We were sleeping together, but like it was like what did we hang out? You remember when I would say like when you are dating someone for the first 2 months, what are you really doing? You're only hanging out maybe 8 times. Let's say you hang out once a week, 4 times in a month. That's 4 days you've only spent together. That's not really getting to know each other yet. So like someone like that you're casually dating, getting to know each other, you can't be commenting on their shit yet, trying to claim territory. That's like aggressive. There's got to be some sort of like gray area or rules, I would think, right? That's how I think. I think that unless you know for a fact that you're like, hey, I'm exclusive with you, there's no commenting on social media. There's no commenting on social media unless like you guys know you're dating. It doesn't even have to be exclusive. Like you hope it's exclusive. You hope that you don't like. There's a point in dating where you're like, I don't want to bring up if we're exclusive yet because I just hope that they're not dating anyone, and I don't see how they would possibly have time because we're hanging out 3 times a week anyways, right? And when we're not hanging out, you would think they would want their own space, right? So that's for you to deal with your own mental, whether you want to think about that or not. But in that gray area, I'm not commenting on their social media yet or anything like that. It's just not a thing until like I know that we're probably exclusive, then I can, because then it's talked about. But again, if it's new, I don't know if you're still dating. It's like it seems like to me, if you comment on my thing and we haven't even slept with each other, we just went on one date. It seems like you're trying to you're being territorial a little bit. I don't know. For me, it's a red flag. I don't know if I'm overreacting. I'm curious about how you guys would think about that. That was just interesting to me. You know, there's certain rules. It's not like back in Facebook days, you know. But if you're dating someone, yeah, you could for sure. Like in Facebook days with social media dating, you would write on people's walls. I remember if there was a girl I was talking to, I would write on her wall and flirt with her publicly. So we would do it. People love doing that. People love claiming their territory all the time. It's a real thing, because that's what was huge about Facebook in college is I remember me and my boys, we would be hanging out and my buddy would be like, bro, you have like 10 girls writing on your wall. Like 10 different girls were writing on your wall. It's like, okay, because you're flirting. You're publicly flirting. You're letting girls know, hey, I'm single. Or you would make your ex jealous. Remember when you would make your ex-girlfriend jealous? You would make her jealous because you were like, yo, I'm gonna comment and flirt with all these girls and I'm gonna get them to write on my wall. And then I remember my wall had like 10 or 12 like posts on it from other girls going, ha ha, or whatever, because you would write on each other's walls. And then you would see your fraternity brothers wrote on your ex-girlfriend's wall, and you'd be like, what the fuck is she doing? Why would she do that to me? Man, Facebook dating game in college was hilarious. But there are still those rules. And I think it's a little bit different if you have a following, because then anyone could comment, especially if you post. I don't mean if I post a clip, like this podcast clip, if I post this specific clip about me talking about social media dating and whether or not you're allowed to comment, and I post that, and then one of the girls comments, it's some girl I've dated a couple times or gone on dates with, I think that's a little different if they're answering a response to a question and it's on my page. But if you were a regular guy with a 9-to-5 and you went on a date with a girl and she starts commenting on your shit after one date, you're going to be like, yo. Don't hop into my life right now. This is like, I got friends, I got families. You don't know if I'm still like, maybe I just broke up with my ex. I don't want to make her jealous. There should be some space before you try to get your feet wet with that, I think. That's what I think. I don't think you should just dive in head first a day after you hung out with someone and be like, hey, good seeing you. Not that they would write good seeing you, but if they were just like, whatever, just LOL. Even if it's like LOL, kiss face. You'd be like, what are you doing? We just hung out for the first time. Can we keep this between us for right now? Yeah. I feel good. I feel good closing this out, and I'm closing this out with something that made me feel really good, and I feel better about it, and I feel like I'm growing as a person. And I don't know why I was like this, and maybe it was because of, I used to have a dog, but before I go into it, let me just preface it with that. But my relationship with my roommate's pug has grown stronger in the last month, I would say. In the last month or 2 months, it's really grown stronger. Like, we've really become more connected. And I don't think it's necessarily just because of food. I know that dogs like to hang around you when you're eating, but I will eat meals in front of my computer when I'm working, and then he'll come hang out. And I know it's because of the food, but there are other times when my roommate's not here and me and the pug have been hanging out and just having me and pug time. And you know, we could play a little bit music right now to like soften it up and make us feel a little bit nicer inside. And the thing is, I'm very proud of it because I feel closer to him now. And I think I was a little reserved about giving my emotions toward him because I had lost my own dog. And when you have your own dog and you live with another dog that is your roommate's dog, you're like, that's the other dog. You don't care, like you don't give it love because you're giving all your love to your dog. Like, I used to do an old joke about how when I would be at a friend's house and I was playing with his dog, I would feel guilty because I was like, I should be spending this time at home with my dog playing with him and giving him that love. And that if I came home, that's why they always smell you really intensely, because they're like, I know what you were doing. And you're like, I was just hanging out at a friend's house. He's like, oh yeah, you weren't cheating on me? Like, you know, I used to do that kind of joke, and that was fun. That being said, I think I needed my time to, you know, deal with Wade's death emotionally, and now that it's been 4 or 5 months later, I'm ready to give some love to another dog that's not my own, because I don't want to get another dog yet, because I think it's better to wait, and I think it's more responsible to wait. So now I'm giving it to him, and I think our relationship's grown, and I think it's a beautiful thing, because I used to think he was kind of gross and dumb, and we've been connecting more. We talk more, and I appreciate him, and I'll put up a picture of him. I'm going to put up a picture of him so you guys know who I'm talking about. But you know, we've really come together a lot more, and we hang out now, and I'll give him some good pets, and I'll even give him a little one-arm cuddle now. Hey guys, unfortunately the camera shut off there, so I have to redo the ending of the podcast. I'm upset about it. I'm upset because it's my fault, and I should have known that the camera was going to shut off if I went that long, or I should have been more prepared. I should have had it charged longer. But I made a mistake, and this week was about a lot of mistakes. It was. But there was a closing thought. It was because I was talking about my roommate's pug and about how our relationship has grown over the last month, and the message I wanted to send about my roommate's pug is that, you know, sometimes we don't open up ourselves to letting other people give us friendship and love that they're offering. Sometimes we're closed off to it. And I think that if we can be aware of that and we can grow as a person, then, you know, we'll be more acceptable to other people trying to offer us love. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's correct. It's different because last night when I was in the podcast and I was in the moment, I knew what I was talking about, and now I'm just trying to recreate it so it's not as authentic. That's a little disappointing. But I wanted my message to be, you know, because the beginning of the episode was like, hey, listen, we can't hold on to what's happened in the past, and we have to move on, and the quicker we do, the more we grow. And I think that the reason I've grown with my roommate's pug is because you know, maybe I wasn't ready originally to accept his love, but I've been giving it to him more, and I think he's noticed, and that's why our relationship has become stronger. So I just wanted to appreciate my roommate CY's pug, that you know, we've become closer in the last month and a half, and I think it's cute. And, you know, that's basically this week's episode. I mean, I didn't even have to do this, really. I didn't even have to redo the ending. I could have ended it with what I had. I had enough footage, but I wanted to, you know, come back in here and finish it properly. And I wanted to thank you guys and remind you about joining the membership on YouTube and leaving a 5-star review. I appreciate all of that. And also, you know, maybe telling a friend. If you guys all tell one friend, I can double my numbers. If you tell 2 friends, I could quadruple my numbers. You know what I mean? And so on and so on. And what we're trying to do is build the team here. We want the team to become strong, and we want to win championships because this is the greatest sports podcast that doesn't talk about sports, although sometimes I slip it in there. So I just wanted to reiterate that. And, you know, I'm excited for the live podcast again Saturday, which is, if you're seeing this, that's tomorrow because today's Friday, right? No, today's Thursday. So today's Thursday, so if you're hearing this, it's Saturday. So check that out. Link in the bio. If you need the link for the tickets, you could just go to my my podcast Instagram, and the link is on there. So thank you, and I'll see you guys next week.